Hey, Megan. Yes, it is Friday. Happy Friday. Hope you're having a good night, Megan. You're here alone so far. Just getting set up here. I don't know, Megan. It's Friday night. Hey, Ruby. Good evening. Oh, yeah, we're all ready to go, Dr. Mins. Is that right, Ruby? What are you doing in Toronto? What's going on? Where are you? What's the, that's awesome. Hey, Terry Lynn. Hey, Deb. I'm just getting a handle on a couple of things. Sorry about the Terry Brown thing getting cut short the other night. Hey, here's a rough new DB3 rough mix. Not even bass. But that's enough. That's for another time. We're getting sidetracked. I'm just making sure my phone is working, which we have no guarantees about anything. Oh, is that right? How long are you here for, Ruby? And is there anything exciting going on the weekend, or are you just kind of getting your belongings and getting back? The Facebook Live, Megan, is on the event page. So if you search under events or past events, you should see the, what did I title it as? The vinyl listening party. And then I wanted to, I know Facebook Live is whatever it is, right? But I wanted to save the video in my saved videos on my web, my Facebook page. And, it doesn't seem to automatically want to go in there. It seems to want to stay on the event page. Why they would do that, I don't know. But anyway, I wanted to get the guys on the screen, and I probably explained that we didn't have time to get the Zoom to talk to my broadcasting software to go to YouTube and do it properly. So we thought, well, we'll try Facebook Live. But, of course, that feature is only available on the app, which means Wi-Fi. So, it's an imperfect world, to make a long story short. What is going on at Massey Hall, Ruby? I should probably know what's going on. Thank you, Deb. It's my Yes shirt. I got it on eBay. Now, I'm going to call Scott in 5 minutes, but I thought maybe I should play Battle of Tribulation first, because that's what the episode is called. And then we'll get Scott on, and we'll talk about Glorious Sons, yeah. So they're supposed to be a great band, eh? I don't know their material, and I probably should. I know you know it's a Yes shirt. I'm just saying, it does say yes. I used to have a better Yes shirt when I was a kid, though. It was all colorful. I thought I'd go for a Black and white one, I don't know. Some of the concert shirts, you know, they just wear out over the years. Hey, Daryl. Hey, Helen. Rainer. Hello, Germany. Okay, so Andy. sometimes we would jam this for a long time. Okay, let's see how this goes. I'm hoping the best for the best with the phone here. Thank you, Andy. I've made ever so minor tweaks, but I hope it sounds good out there and better than it did the other night. I'm getting this electronic phone thing
Dave.
again. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Dave.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm getting this electronic business again with the phone, and it's no matter what I do, we're plagued with some thingies right off the bat. But hey, give me
cell noise. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, so your Jeff Becker's showing.
Oh, you think? Nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that last bit. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's always a good thing. Let me try a couple things here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know we have. Sometimes this happens, sometimes it doesn't, and of course this is the week for reliving some technical issues. So we'll get it sorted.
Oh, I know. I've had it all week.
Yeah. Bear with me for a sec, guys.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Yes, I did lose him, Megan, but now he's back. I don't know what happened there. So
that's weird. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
But I know at some point you just have to kind of laugh. I know.
Yeah. I know.
I wish. Hey, so how's it going?
Good. Too bad that Facebook thing last night didn't work.
Yeah, I know. But we had a good one with Terry, and the feedback was great.
Yeah.
And as soon as I can, you're using your volume from me is it turned down where you are?
Is it down?
No, like I know you're on the phone, but you don't have anything computer turned up or any original source sound from YouTube happening, do you?
No, I'm just on Bluetooth buds on my phone. Yeah. Are you getting me okay?
Yeah, there's interference, but as soon as I just have to get over it, I just wish I knew why, because
it's interesting because I can't hear any.
Yeah. Can you guys hear it out there? I don't know. It's the same thing that we had before, but it doesn't always happen. And then you try to troubleshoot and you go, is it the cables, the proximity of the modem, all the usual things, right?
Yeah.
But that's okay. I'll deal with it. So I'll snap out of it. So I played Battle of Tribulation there and used your picture of you with your Rickenbacker for the little.
Yeah, that's kind of like my own version of London Calling or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So Battle of Tribulation. I like what you did there. Yeah, at the end of it. That's cool.
Well, we used to jam it in that way, and we used to make it go all quiet and jazzy. And then when we recorded the version of it, I kind of forgot about that, but I kind of condensed. Well, I didn't forget about it.
Oh, yes, that's right. We did. I
kind of made that solo section the same, but I just decided on the kind of verse picking pattern without slowing it down, and we had a fast solo section.
I totally forgot we brought it way down.
I know, but I guess we recorded a version of it, and that was what we decided to go with as opposed to whatever else. But yeah.
Well,
that's good. So you can
our memory of 40 years, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's amazing.
Yeah, don't rely on that.
No, I know. It's so funny, but
yeah.
You know what? I did we talk about that song that we had? We had a song before that. It was called Disturbance. Remember? And you wrote it. Was it about Andrew Black, or was it about somebody in the neighborhood that came down to rehearsal and was always disturbing you in some way? Who was that? Do you remember?
Oh, geez. No. I remember there was a song called Disturbance, but I don't remember anything about it. And was that what it was about?
Yeah.
Someone bugging us down.
Yeah. It wasn't John Paul. I think it was.
No, it wouldn't have been.
It wouldn't have been John. I think it was Andrew Black. But I don't know. That's funny.
I don't know.
That's so funny.
I have no idea.
And then I think that was only the two. And what the guys, we'll take questions too if you guys are interested. That's good. Maybe I'm just getting the interference from my monitoring, Daryl, and it's not going through the internet. That would be awesome.
That could be, because I'm clean here. Dave.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay. It's just, it's an intermittent thing, but I'll just rise above it. I'm a professional. I can do that. What the guys don't know is that when Scott, I don't know, it's fun talking about this stuff because it's ancient history now, but when Scott, kind of became of age, or maybe even a little bit underage, you were playing in a band called Glamatron, and that was a club band that recently released the material for vinyl. And it's like a lot of bands, you have some promising stuff, you get a little bit of airplay, you get a little bit of attention, you have a lot of people hyping you up, and then nothing really happens, and that's just the way it goes. That's the music. I was gonna say that's the music business, but it's not the music business. It's just the nature of being on a local scene, right? There's nothing you can do kind of about your fate when things just don't seem to align and go in the right direction. And sometimes it's bad management, or sometimes, like I said, the funny thing is that when you hear some of those records, you don't maybe hear a single or a hook in the way that you kind of need in order to break out of all the other bands, right? I mean, you need that one song. And we think of all those bands, and maybe Glamotron didn't have that. So anyway, I'm taking a roundabout way to say that after all that stuff kind of cleared, and you had some success with your own 12-inch singles and getting a lot of airplay, selling a fair amount, several thousand, and then getting some local recognition with nomination and CFNY awards and stuff. We started doing all this instrumental stuff even back then, and those recordings are numerous. And also, I probably have, I think I didn't save them, but I had a rejection letter from most of the prominent instrumental labels that we sent to. So we sent things out to ECM and Windham Hill, and and we did get responses back then. It was all like, "Well, I think you need to develop this more," and I just think that's so funny that we took many stabs at it, and then with Trouble in Mind, we really attempted a rock band, but it was just so disjointed in terms of how it came. Like we had this idea, and then the idea in our head kind of materialized into something else that I think we weren't really prepared for. Right? You know what I mean?
What I like, but you know what I like about Trouble in Mind is that it was not right for the time, because at the time it was, I don't know.
Andy here says we had great hair. Anyway, so keep going with your thoughts.
We did. But I think like there were some similarities there that I thought that were kind of like Rage Against the Machine, right?
Well, that's true.
There was a certain kind of there's a kind of a punk aspect to it too, which was brought by Bo and maybe a bit of me, but I don't know. I when I listen to it now, I find it still kind of stands up. Like when we remastered it and put it out last year, it's still a good listen. Which I didn't know whether it was going to be, but it still is. Like it still kind of holds up.
It's so funny though. I love it
in a weird way, right? But it's groovy, it's aggressive, it's loud,
It is better. It's better than how I remembered it. But I know that if you played it for industry people, they would kind of go, "Oh no, this is terrible," because they're not really.
They wouldn't know what to do with it.
Well, they wouldn't know what to do with it, and it would, yeah. But I could have really seen that stuff being cleaned up and recorded properly. And I say cleaned up, I don't mean cleaned up like polished. I meant just doing it justice in the way that anybody would record, where you would just take a little more time and make it bigger and better and louder, even not necessarily more fancy or more produced. Just
No, I would say not
just
fancy
done better
or more produced. No.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I would maybe simplify a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I would sort of distill it a lot and make it. There are some things that. It just needs to be more focused. That's all.
But then, fast forward to, another. We kind of go in 10-year gaps, kind of, because our first band was like the late 70s, right? And that probably went from like 78 to like 1980, right? Maybe. Like a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
And then
I think I moved downtown in 1980 or 1981 or something.
And then our Trouble in Mind fiasco thing, we started like in 89, and then went for like a year and a half, kind of same thing, and then.
But you and I, we did that Bedford Road stuff.
I know
that instrumental Bedford. That was somewhere in between there.
That was mid 80s. That's right. And I was
mid 80s.
I was playing with bands and on the roads and stuff, and then we would do all that stuff. But we were really learning about writing and I don't know. I mean, it was kind of. I think we did so much emulating of Eno, and in my case, emulating Matheny, that it's. I don't know. It's a little bit underdeveloped, kind of childish a little bit. More on my part. Your your compositions were a little more well-rounded.
Me too.
But then Then in fast forward, so Trouble in Mind, 89, and then I carried on with the band and I got a publishing deal with EMI, and we did great in the Gasworks Rock and Roll Heaven thing, but we couldn't really break out of whatever it is we were into, and then we kind of imploded. And then we started doing, just for the guys who, I'll post some links, but we made a couple of we were really early on the whole file sharing, making a record over the internet thing, just around the time when people started doing that. We were really right in on that because we did 2 records.
2005.
2005. Yeah, that's crazy.
And I've over the past couple of weeks, actually last night, I listened to a track from Radium Luster. Mm-hmm. Actually, I listened to 2 tracks. I listened to Opal, and I listened to Rainbow Light Body and something else. And man, like, it's weird because you don't remember it. It sounds like a new song now.
Well, it sounds somebody else.
It sounds like somebody else,
right?
And it's pretty cool. I mean, the parts that you go, okay, yeah, next, okay, move on to the next thing. I mean, you realize that, but also, you kind of give yourself a break and say, well, is it any good? And a lot of it is. And some of it, I don't remember it being what I heard it as last night.
And some of it sounds a little more tricky than we had envisioned too, because I didn't think of that either, right? I thought it was. I thought we were glazing over and making things a little bit simple, but it was a really interesting record. So for you guys out there that are interested, we did a record in 2005 called Amitabha. And the links are in my discography on davidbarrettrio.com, and they're on Scott Matthews' website, which is Scott Matthews. What is it, Canada? What's your URL, Scott?
ScottMatthewsCanada.com. Yeah.
So Scott is Scott Matthews Canada.
You can hear them there too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other record we did a couple of years after that, we decided to do it again. Was Radium Luster, but we seem to like Amitabha better, but I don't know why. It doesn't make it, judge your own stuff, and sometimes that's the stupidest thing to do because you look back and you go, hey, that was pretty good. I like that. And when
that's what I thought, is that the Radium Luster stuff, I liked it. Very difficult to sort of think, if someone asked you, what is it? It'd be pretty difficult to describe, which I suppose is a good thing, right?
Yeah, I think we were just, I think what we were doing is we were doing what we were interested in, but some of the limitations was defining the genre, meaning we would have loved to work with a big drummer on a few of the tracks, but we didn't really have that capability. So we tried a couple of programming, and some of the stuff maybe went in electronica direction just by default,
Just by default,
and same thing with the guitars, because I'm better at recording. I always felt back then that I could record my guitars and get interesting sounds and interesting lead, but I had a hard time tracking the more powerful guitar sounds with the gear that I was using at the time. And now I don't have that problem because I have some better tubey things where I'm using microphones and tubes and what I normally use, and I'm getting
and emulations are what we didn't have emulations back then.
Well, I was using
the way you could get us,
I was using the Roland ones though, you know what I mean? It's like, and they were okay, kind of, but I know it's crazy, right? I mean, it's so we've a lot of things have changed. Now you guys don't know that. I mean, we had Roland studios and smaller workstations that were not integrated with computers, so we were really using Roland devices.
No, that's right. You had that little. I know. You did it on a Porta Studio. Actually, I think the whole album was done on a Porta Studio.
Well, it was done on the Roland
Amitabha
was Roland BR8,
and then,
which is a digital 8-track.
That's right.
I forget what you were using. You were using Reason or something, weren't you?
Well, no. When we did Amitabha, I was using Lorena McKennett's Porta Studio. It was a 32-channel Tascam.
Oh God, I forgot you
were that I borrowed from Lorena, and then Radium Luster was I went out and got a Windows machine, and it was Pro Tools.
Oh wow! So Radium Luster was the leaps for you guys out there. The first album was done on basically Porta Studios, which are integrated recording units that are not they're not part of a computer. Pro Tools, of course, it's computer based, or people call them a DAW, a digital audio workstation. So that's the difference. Now, you guys should know it's quite interesting that we kind of, I would say we rehearsed, but we didn't rehearse. We kind of jammed and we recorded at Lorena McKennett's studio in Stratford. And Scott, for many years, looked after that studio and kind of maintained it and was kind of like house engineer / really guy with the key who just looked after it, really, right? Because it's kind of like
it was great.
Yeah, I know, Andy. That stuff was still Andy. That stuff was still digital though. All those recordings that Scott and I did in the mid 2000s were all digital.
How did we get our files back and forth? Did we email them or something? Or?
Jesus, I don't know.
Like, it's so long ago. It's funny. I mean, people.
Oh my God, no! We used
file sharing albums. We were doing it 20 years ago.
We used FTP.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
FTP is, for you guys that don't know, FTP is a type of file sharing where you have the equivalent of what you would call an app on your computer, and you have the other person's FTP address, and you load up maybe some of you guys know, but you load up your tracks, which are too big to email, and there wasn't
anyone who's early internet, which most of the folks here are. Right, so they would probably know this stuff.
Oh yeah, so we tortured ourselves. There's this great story that I was sending Scott a track, and I did something like I kept giving you notes on a mix that wasn't the right mix, and you kept on making adjustments, and I kept on referring to the wrong mix, and you got so frustrated you went out for a walk. Remember that? You said, because you just didn't know what was going on, because whatever you did was not right. Remember that? And that was
no.
Oh my God, it was just terrible. It was like we're working on the song, and we make these, just like Terry and I and Scott, we make notes and we say, hey, what about this, and what about this, and maybe at this time, and maybe this section you should do this. And we still did it on the new track we're working on. Terry said, oh, that part would be great in 7, and I go, yeah, that would be great in 7. And I sent it back to him, and I go, that part's not in 7. I go, yes, it is. And he goes, no, it isn't. and I said, oh, I was talking about the other part. And that's part of the communication thing when you're making notes, because you start using these references that are very esoteric, like well, that section that's kind of like the lead middle section before the other section, with it's the solo section, it's not the verse section, and then it just gets so convoluted that nobody knows what they're talking about, or
But
whatever.
I gotta say, I'm glad. Like last night, Terry was talking about artists and recording projects where artists spend so much time and effort in the studio that, things that people are never going to hear, things that don't necessarily contribute to a better piece of music or a better recording or whatever the case may be. And I got to say, like, you and I have kind of run the gamut from doing ambient almost nothing to putting way too much on tracks. And I feel like now in the last couple of years, like, you and I have now done 2 albums and I've done 1. So that's like 3, a lot of material in 2 years.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like, I just feel like we're not wasting time. It's kind of like we're not putting on parts because we feel insecure about the parts that we've written, and we just need to hide them or embellish them or polish a turret, as they say. I think that we're spending time writing and arranging and distilling parts that are meaningful and contribute to a piece of music. And if it isn't meaningful, if it doesn't contribute, if it doesn't lend itself to painting the picture or telling a story, then don't put it in, Yeah. And that's why I think, like, even on broadcast, there's some of the tracks that you did that were solo, you were saying, hey, Scott, put on some work, put on maybe some strings and stuff like that. And I kind of messed around, and I'd be listening to the track with Malagueño, right? And I thought, no, if I put shit on it, it's just going to mess it up. It's is just going to muddy the message, you know.
Well,
So I
I'm
think that
yeah.
you and I have come to that place now where we're just kind of. I mean, this sounds like we're patting ourselves on the back. I don't mean it to sound like that. It's not
I
that. But I.
I envy us. Sorry. Anytime I can get Spinal Tap in there, I do.
Yeah, Spinal Tap. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, I think that's good. And I think that because I like someone like Terry, I'd hate to be sending a whole bunch of tracks to Terry, and that he sees that a third of the tracks of the stems that I send him, he would view as superfluous.
No,
Um,
yeah, definitely not the case. And I think the new stuff, when I hear Paul DeLong playing drums on them, it's starting off with some pretty sparse ideas, but some pretty cool ideas, but less, and we'll have really big rockin' ideas. What I was gonna add to some of that, because you said we did kind of start off with making some ambient records, but I think what's really nice on Broadcaster and on Faces in the Stones is that we have a lot more stuff in the foreground where you're in the melodic end of things doing orchestration and counterpoint, and I'm doing a lot of stuff on guitar where there's lead stuff and more exciting some stuff is faster, or so we have much more dynamics, much more elements to the music that is harder to interject when you're newer at doing instrumental music, and I think we didn't have as many peaks and valleys back in the day when we started doing the style. It was all kind of like in like first gear. So I'm really happy. That's what I'm most happy about, is that we're able to interject in more exciting parts, like the records that we grew up listening to. Because you take like Yes Relayer, and how mellow it is in places and how beautiful it is in places, but it's
oh
also
yeah,
really chaotic and scary in places, like in the war scene in Gates of Delirium. Like that's like
yeah.
crashes and bangs and war sounds, and then they got those beautiful steel guitar and orchestral moments. So I'm just mostly happy that we're able to do that, and I think that we did get our other friend in Germany. We have Rainer listening right now from Germany, but our other friend, we've got a few of them, Gene and Claudia, posted today that how much she loves that record and that it means a lot to her. And that's so great to hear, because it means
That's
that
fantastic. Yeah.
we kind of doing something that's just gets a response or an emotional reaction.
And
Nothing.
that's why, and that's really why you put it out there, right? I mean, it's not that you don't put it out there thinking, oh, I hope this really does well, or I hope it furthers my whatever. It's when you're composing a piece of music, you're sort of mining for an idea or an emotion or a picture or whatever the case may be, and you're really just trying to get it out there and put it on the paper,
Mm-hmm.
and that hoping that with the idea and the discipline that the message is clear, that what you're saying or what the music is saying conveys something. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't convey anything, then you've lost. But it is nice to get feedback that people say that music was moving, that music affected me, that music did something to me, because that's why you're doing it.
That
Right?
is
That's
why you're doing it.
you're doing it. I mean, and that's why people and musicians and artists continue doing what it is they do, because they either love to do it or they have to do it or whatever, whatever you want. There's a lot of explanations why people do what they do, but I think if you created the music that you would create, knowing that no one's going to hear it, that's the music you want to create. And then after that, what you want is people to hear it. And then when they are affected by it and they're affected positively by it, that's enriching beyond belief.
Well, I can
I
honestly
mean, I
say
think it
that
is.
there's nothing. Those records of late, those two records are exactly. There's no commercial influence. There's only one influence we have, and that's Terry Brown, and and
Yeah,
and that's a real positive one. I think that for two guys that grew up so inspired by those records, and to be working with Terry and have a third guy. That's why I'm still calling it David Barrett Trio, or we're still calling it David Barrett Trio, because
yeah.
to have that third voice in there with the input, to me is the greatest thing. And we notice how things are different between the other collaborations and not having Terry. So that is what is, I think, making a huge difference as well. So we'll see where the next recordings take us, because we've already started them.
Well, it's funny, when you and Terry were talking last night, and you were saying, "Oh, I got this new thing," and you were saying, "Oh, I just talked to Scott," and I said, "Hey, take your time," blah blah blah. Well, wouldn't you know it? Yesterday afternoon, I didn't work. I stayed home, picked up my bass, and started working on a bass part.
Oh, cool.
It's like, it's kind of like, oh, and now you're saying, actually, we need the bass part. So now I'm kind of thinking, well, I'm actually already thinking about a bass part. So
Yeah.
it never happens by design. It only ever happens by accident. Luckily, with us, it things happen very, very quickly.
Yeah,
When
they do.
they
Oh
happen
God, yeah.
quickly. Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy that when we start getting into when some of the larger tracks, how quickly they come together. It's like
Oh,
you
yeah,
send off a
yeah.
rough, and then whatever, if there's anything disastrous or something that's not working, it gets fixed. It doesn't linger. It's like
The thing is, they
you
write
know.
they kind of write themselves.
Mm.
As I say, to borrow another cliche, that as long as you get out of the way, it'll write itself. And it does.
Yeah.
But you have to be at the environment does have to be right in order for that to happen. I mean, I know professional songwriters and stuff like that. They sit down at the piano or their guitar, and they sit down and they say, "Now I'm going to write a song." Well, yes, they're working on their craft. Yeah, they're doing something every day, which is good. But as long as they don't have the expectations that's going to be something great every day. I
Yeah.
mean, unless you're Paul McCartney.
Well,
Unless you're Paul
no,
McCartney, of
but that's what
course.
Philip Glass does. Philip Glass writes at the piano with pen and paper from 9 till noon every day.
Yeah,
That's just what he
yeah,
does. I don't.
yeah.
I find that I'm more. I kind of take Tom Petty's approach, and we've talked about this, where I just sometimes you don't have any ideas, so I just work on something else. Like I'll work on performance for several months, learning how to play my pieces or other pieces, and or I'll work on some other aspect of the music, and then I'll go into a writing phase, and I'll just work
And
on
in
I'll
my
just work
case,
on
in the
writing.
last 6 months, absolutely nothing. I've
Yeah,
played the piano twice and my bass three times.
yeah.
That's it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Just nothing. Just nothing. I mean, because I'm somewhere else with the theater and so on. But
Well, I should mention to the
yeah,
guys to
not
look
at
up.
all.
I should mention to the guys to look up "Distant Flashing Light" because it's. I don't know. Do you call it an EP or a record? Because it's kind of it's a good length. It's about a half an hour of new
Yeah,
music
it's
from
about a
Scott.
half hour.
And
I mean,
yeah,
but what Spotify calls it an EP, I
they
call it
always
an
do
album.
that. I know. I wish they wouldn't because.
I am happiest with that.
Mhm.
I think I'm the most happiest with that, uh, more than I think anything else I've done at this point.
Oh, I think it's great,
Yeah.
and I'd love to see vinyl for that. But I was just telling the guys that I do play on one track, but it's another orchestral record that kind of sums up Scott's writing style that ranges from ambient to orchestral and hints of rock. But the basic instrumentation is orchestral stuff with a piano and a bass kind of taking the focus,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a great record. And when you were working on it, you were asking me my for an opinion on a couple of things, and I think you were thinking that some of the tracks didn't go together, and I really thought that they all did, and even the one or two with some sound effects kind of worked really well as a contrast. And you listen to it, just like a Steve Reich or Philip Glass recording, they can have sound effects and other elements in with the orchestral instruments, and it makes for a great listening experience, and it kind of makes those tracks separate from the others and makes them memorable. So I really like that one,
Well, no, I'm glad I listened to you because I think you're right, Dave.
Yeah, well, I
You're
hope
right,
so. I'm not always right.
It makes it more varied, right? Like I think that's important.
Well, it gives some things an identity and a character, And Andy says here, Dave, you practice after dinner before the shows. Sometimes, Andy, but sometimes what I do after dinner is I get the technical end of things together, but maybe late afternoon, like around 4 o'clock, I'll actually learn a couple songs. And if I find that if I learn the songs too close to playing time, then I'm a little too freaked out. But if I learn them in like late afternoon and they're fresh in my mind, and then I can maybe if there's something a little bit complicated like a Glenn Campbell song, I'll write the chords out. But
I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do what you do.
There's something wrong with me.
I don't know how you do it. Like you must have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs in your head.
Well,
you can hear a song once and play it. It's like photographic memory, man.
Well,
it's bizarre.
Some people that don't understand it think that you learn a song, and I don't really do that. What I do is I try to hear in my head how the song goes. So if I can remember it how it goes, then I can usually find a way of playing it on the instrument without really intellectualizing what it is. Like, for instance, I would almost never learn a melody. Like I've never learned the melody to Moon Glow or Over the Rainbow or any of those songs. I just hear what I'm used to hearing it as, and then I just play that, and so it comes out like you're talking or singing. But in terms of chord structure, with ear training that is not formal ear training, you can just develop.
It's the same thing, though. It's the same thing. It's all just repetition.
Well, kind of, right? But then what you can do out of most tunes is find a way to kind of hear the song as a whole, so that when you hear it once, you can kind of absorb the structure and whatever the chord sequence is. It's not
right, but Dave, that's still memory. That's still like photographic memory. That's still like, it goes from here to here to here to here.
Yeah, it's kind of so it's really interesting. If I was coaching a band, I remember with Caroline's band and Phil, I coached them, and they wanted to try Aerosmith. And it's an interesting arrangement. It's the one that was written by Diane Warren. Don't want to fall asleep because I'll miss something. Don't want to, whatever the hell, that big giant song,
yeah.
And
it's from an apocalypse movie.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, what's interesting,
where Bruce Willis goes and puts a nuke on a meteor.
Only we got to get Bruce Willis because only he can save the world. It's one guy. Is it? We got to get Bruce Willis. We got to get him to land on a meteor because nobody else in the whole world can do it. Just him.
No,
just him.
He's the guy. He's the chosen one.
He's the guy, and let's make a movie around it.
Yeah.
And let's get Steven Tyler's daughter in it, and it's going to be a blockbuster. And get Diane Warren to write the song because she writes hits for everybody. But what's interesting about that song is that it's the classic.
It's a good song, by the way.
Oh no, it's a great song, but it's like
a great song.
But what it has these elements of an intro that's distinct, where the intro is not another part of the song, and then it has the song, and then it has a twist, and then it has a bridge, but then the bridge isn't just a bridge, the bridge does a key change, and
it's very theater writing.
Well, you know all about that,
very
right?
Theater writing.
You can kind of hear that stuff and make a mental note in some weird way where you hear those tools. They're just tools, right? But the biggest thing is like trying to learn a Burt Bacharach song in 5 minutes. I can do that, but it'll be wrong. Then I have to go back and pay closer attention and go, oh God, that's not that chord, that's this chord. Look at what he's doing here. And, it's just a marvel.
He does so much inversions and replacements and substitutions. And oh my God, it's crazy. Now, like if we're talking like theater type tunes or that type of thing, listen to a Disney tune.
Oh, I know. I
They are
know.
they are crazy. Like those composers and those songwriters and those arrangers, those guys are they're like they're like superheroes. Those
When
guys.
my
Like
nieces,
I don't know how they do what they do.
I used to play songs with my nieces, like everything from Cheap Trick and Elton John, and they would sing, and it was such a great time when they were young, right? And then there was this
Yeah.
one song that was a Disney song, and play that Disney song, Uncle Dave, play that Disney song. It's like, you don't understand. It's really complicated. I'm trying. And it's like overwhelming. I'm trying to learn this Disney song. I forget which one it was. It was from that Ice movie or something. And I'm going, no, this is
From Frozen. Oh yeah. No,
I
yeah.
can't get it. I can't get it. And I don't know if it was Frozen, but it was one of those. And it's just like so not everything. And the other thing it's really really freaking interesting is it'll take you a second to learn the composer tools for things like Mission Impossible and then all the chromatic melodies and all the modulations and the time signatures. Like that stuff is cool. Doo-doo-doo, and all and stuff
Oh yeah,
like
and the superimpositions and things.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
and
oh,
Hawaii
yeah.
5-0
Yeah.
is the frickin' Ventures and stuff, but like there's riffs and key changes that come so quickly, and you really gotta. It's really cool. But anyway, that's what I've been. I don't know about you, but you know you have a different because you don't play guitar. You have a different way of looking at things, and you look at the keyboard and you mix orchestras and you play bass. And I'm kind of a little bit on the other end of things because I play guitar and have learned everything from classical guitar to some surf things. And man, you know you study. I just try to study every little different genre that just captures my imagination, so that you know if I ever heard anything that was interesting, it wouldn't matter if it's classical guitar like John Williams, flamenco, or jazz like Matheny, or Steve Howe tunes.
I'm the same way.
I would learn
I
them.
pay no attention to genre.
Yeah, I would just
don't-
learn them, you know, and then just the
Yeah.
years go by, and then it adds up into some weird thing. I think that just to kind of cap off this part of what we're talking about, I think one thing
Yeah.
that I learned really late after playing guitar for a long time, I just decided to just not worry about it anymore and just do what I liked, because there was a time about 20 years ago I thought, oh my God, I've been playing guitar now for like 25 years or something, or whatever it was, and I'm not really a good jazz guitar player. I'm not a good. I'm never going to be a classical guitar player, or I'm never going to play country properly. You know, and that's true. And so I just kept on going. And now what I find is a lot of the songs that people, especially on the broadcast, that I play and they like, I was very unsure about playing that style and those things 20 years ago, because they didn't really sound right to me. And once I just started to just do it my own goofy way and forget about trying to be more official, you know, then
Exactly.
you know, it's
Exactly.
kind of probably I'd love to get some
As they say, let your freak flag fly.
well, I know a few. I know some. I've got to meet up with Liza in the diva quartet, because she's a great player. She plays cello, and she's also a writer and an arranger. And she's an interesting musician because she can play classical and she can read for real. But she likes rock music, and she loves Rush and things, and Yes and all that stuff. And I want to
Well,
get
yeah.
I want to get her version of 2112, and we got to swap vinyl. But I would like to get her honest opinion of some of I was going to say our arrangements, but really it's more your arranging, because you're the one really doing the orchestral thing, you know. And I remember back in the day, we used to go to that pub. I think it was the Duke of York. And remember one time we ran into like a TSO guy. For those of you who aren't in Toronto Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, it was a whole TSO bar.
Yeah, right. So,
Oh, yeah.
so I'd be really interested, not because I'm looking for praise, because I love the record regardless, but I would be interested in seeing what some of the classical guys would think, because I know over the years, the times when I've heard some classical guys look at some of the rock records with the orchestral stuff, they kind of they kind of said, "Oh, it's okay, but it's kind of cliche, or it's not this, it's not that," and that's kind of what I
But you know,
remember.
the guys who said that weren't listening. The guy I'm thinking of,
Well,
I was a
that's interesting.
good friend with, and I studied with for a while, and is Daniel Foley, and he used to hang out with the Duke of York, and he wasn't Toronto Symphony. Tom Monahan was the bass player,
Mm.
principal bass player for the TSO, but Daniel Foley used to hang out there, and he was a good friend of mine, and I studied with him for a little bit. He was just basically trying to touch me up on some advanced theory and stuff like that. But he was a, I mean, he wrote new music, like
Yeah.
progressive Schoenberg level stuff, Stravinsky level stuff. But his favorite musician, his favorite writer, his favorite musician above Stravinsky, above Schoenberg, above all those cats was Stevie Wonder.
Mm. Understandable.
Right? Like he got it, man.
Mm.
He really, it's kind of like, if you think about Quincy Jones, right? Quincy Jones knows everything and knows
Wow.
about everything about music, right? And guys like that, I'm in awe of, like, because they just know so much and can do so much,
Well,
you know.
I'm mostly
But
happy. Oh, sorry, go on. Yeah.
but but knowing that, I also know, like you're saying, you realize your limitations. I realize mine too, and I don't want my realization of my limitations to stop me doing what it is I want to do. So just when I stopped caring about wanting to be serious,
Hmm.
when I stopped caring about that was when the music that I started creating all of a sudden became alive to me. All of a sudden it became expressive and interesting. It became all the things I wanted, the music that I wanted to write. That's what it became. But it only happened in order that I had to completely give up the idea of being serious, and being pretentious and being all those things. I had to give that up and just stop with all the noise and the nonsense,
Yeah, and just get on
and
with it.
then just get on with it. And it just kind of happened. It reminds me a very, like, old story, but also that pertains to Terry, is way back in the day in the 80s when Blue Rodeo were trying to be, new wave band, Toronto scene, like around the same time as Glamatron and all that kind of stuff. Well, they weren't getting anywhere, right? They were just they were, the demo after demo was just getting more. And I only read about this. I don't know the Blue Rodeo fellas,
No, that's
but
true. Yeah.
and they were just getting declined and declined and declined. And then the two of them said, "Well, screw it, man. Why don't we just write the music we want to make and not care about being this or being that? We're just going to be ourselves. Just going to do what we want." And you know, wrote "Try," and then the first album, "Outskirts," I think it's called, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the rest is history, right? Blue Rodeo is Blue Rodeo, you know. And I just think it's important. I just wish I wish I got there earlier.
Well,
I wish I got smarter earlier.
well, I think your vinyl in the '80s was really genuine, but I
I think
don't.
it was too, but
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a tough one. But I think what I like is that our story now spans several decades, and
yeah,
what I
yeah,
think that what we started doing is we started owning some of the things. Like I think it's hilarious that the Crucial Taunt thing. Steve Thorpe mentioned that he had a Crucial Taunt shirt on, and somebody came up to him and was talking about Crucial Taunt or something, and it just cracks me up. But I think that it's just we have our story in our band that is now taken on a life of its own, whereas just like other bands. So it's ours. It's unique to us, and our graph and the way we've worked together and continued to has kind
And
of
I think it's fantastic to have so many people along.
yeah,
So many people along for this. That it's
yeah.
it's
So
really
we
special.
figured out a way to make it continue that is doable. I mean, I think that's a big part of it. It's one thing to have the ideas or the intention. It's another thing to kind of be able to keep doing recording projects that make sense. To have some people
Yeah,
and actually have some people
and that,
listening. You know.
yeah, and that are accessible to make. I
Yeah.
mean, if it were 20, 30 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do
No,
this.
I don't know. I know. It's not possible.
It'd just be too expensive. The ergonomics, everything would be too difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is this the ideal way to do it? I don't know. I don't think it matters. I think we do it how we do it, and I think we get the results we get, and if we're happy with them, which we are, then good enough.
I've been equating. I've been thinking a little bit lately that with so many bars closing, my two most reliable venues in the city, where I played solo at Whistler's upstairs, which is a great venue, and the
Yeah,
Orbit Room, which
yeah.
was it's sometimes our monthly David Barrett Trio thing. These places are gone, and there's not so much there to replace them. But I started thinking that the business model of getting in your van and in our case, driving to Montreal to open for Marillion and which is great fun, but it's hard to sustain itself because you're always breaking even or losing money. And that's okay to do when you're getting started, but when it becomes a way of doing business, it's not going to sustain itself. So we've figured out a way to do this, to keep this David Barrett Trio concept going with a little team that we've developed that's small, but the thing is that we've figured out a way to do it that is not maybe how we initially envisioned, but it's the way that keeps it alive and keeps it working. And I must say that it's
So
really, really freaking enjoyable. And that is the one thing that I if I could tell everybody listening, is that working with you and Terry is really fun and really rewarding in ways.
vice versa.
In ways that sometimes another setting. When I had coffee with John Blaine from the neighborhood this morning, and I was telling him all these stories about some people that I had worked for, and some of the stories about being in the studio, and how this kind of machine of record companies and people getting record deals becomes weird, and people don't see that from the outside. All they do is see the end result in the video and somebody selling records, but they don't see all the chaotic stuff that goes into it.
They shouldn't.
And so they shouldn't. But
really.
Really, whatever that is, it can be good or bad. But really, it's not what I got into this. I always refer back to when I was a kid. I got into this to do what we're doing now, and not
I agree.
Not that other
I
thing,
agree.
whatever that is.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're able to do it, and I'm really grateful for that. So thanks to you and Terry, and I must shout out to the other guys that have been in the trio too, because
Absolutely.
a lot of the guys were great at the time, and for whatever reason, maybe it wasn't something that they just wanted to do forever, and I had to, or it wasn't the kind of thing that they wanted to put that much time into, which I had to learn to respect that idea too. Of
course.
Other people have different time constraints on what they can actually do. Either it could be anything from family to just, hey, I got to go make a living over here. So anyway, it's worked out really, really great. And
this is a model. Someone was asking last night, and they were asking Terry. It was a text message. It was saying how is the digital model now better than the old one. I don't recall if he answered it or not. But I think that for for what you and I are doing with these records, this model works is by far the best because there is no zero distraction. It is completely
It's interesting.
100% serving the music and serving the project. There's no there's no lifestyle distraction, studio distraction, money, management, people, travel, like nothing. There is nothing in the way. It's just pure music. It's here are the parts. Here are the parts you need to work on. I here I'm going to deliver the parts. It all gets put together. It all gets mixed. It gets distributed. There are notes. It goes gets remixed again. It's the ergonomics are like so unbelievably efficient. So
Maybe it's.
I think this is a really good. It's not for everyone.
Mhm.
It's really not because there was another comment last night saying it seems like recording has become impersonal.
Mhm.
Well, it has. If that would be true, if studio dates and making records were that kind of social thing, and there is a magic that happens with musicians in a room that is absolutely true, and that can't be replicated. But we're not trying to replicate that.
No, we're trying to
We
do
are
something
we are
else. Yeah.
just we're trying to do something else. So for what for what we're doing, this kind of model works really well, and that's why. So I can have an idea for a violin or a clarinet part or something like that in the morning, and I can go to my studio, do it, and you can be listening to that idea in the afternoon, like that kind of thing. I mean, that happens all the time now in film and television, and I think it's happening more and more at records and so on. And I think it's the way a lot of records are made now. But
Well,
um,
I think
I don't
that
know. I think it works for you and I.
oh, it definitely works in the way that in the way that we're working. Mike Oldfield went to the Manor in England. It was Richard Branson set that up before Virgin was Virgin, and he for
Hmm.
a year or so he recorded Tubular Bells in this giant house studio where they let him record
Yeah,
in the middle of the night for a year, and they came up with Tubular Bells. But he was able to do that because he was afforded the time. In the same way that we're able to do that because I'm working alone in a studio, in the same way, and then sending stuff to you, and in some cases vice versa. And
yeah, yeah,
that's an amazing thing. The one thing I was going to add to what you were saying was that there's bands like Chicago and Yes, and even Rush would go to Wales to record a Farewell to Kings, and there's something magical when they're just there to do one thing and
yeah.
undistracted and all living together and living the music full time.
I guess
Bands,
this is our version. This is our version of that, right?
well, maybe, but those bands
Yeah,
couldn't. Those records were when they stopped doing that. The records changed, and
yeah. They did
they
too.
weren't the
Yeah,
same. There's some good records, definitely some good records, but it's not quite the same as Close to the Edge. But
yeah.
it's that's deep. Daryl says deep down, what did you guys just like to be together face to face creating? Yes, Daryl, but you know what? Sometimes with certain people and their temperament, it's sometimes easier to get started and get the idea down and then send it off. Sometimes when you're working together, it's hard to get an idea off the ground and get it through a committee. Sometimes you just have to do it on your own and say it goes like this, because even in those bands like Yes, often those guys would have their own home recording and they would do the same thing. They would write something. They would write like Close to the Edge on their own and go, this is how it
Yeah,
goes.
that's right.
Close to the
Yeah,
Edge, that's Steve Howe. And then they would take it to the guys. And then sometimes the keyboard player, he'd have this organ thing and they put it together. And
But it's better that way.
know?
It really kind of is better that way, that someone is leading the charge with something, that someone says, no, I got this idea for this. I think this is the part that it needs to go like this,
Yeah. Because
and then someone leads the charge, and then it trades off, and that's the nice thing about collaboration. But
well, it was great. The great thing about the Crownlands guys is that I gave them demos, and they were very respectful of the material because they said, "Hey, Dave, you know what? We'll play whatever you want." And they were so positive, and they worked on their parts, and we didn't rehearse that much. And then as we're in the studio, they're tweaking, and it's getting better and better. And it's like, then you hit record, and then they got it together. And the vibe, because that record is different than this record, because I intended on making a record that featured jamming moments, like long jams, like a jam band. And so that's what that record was about, right? So we needed to do that.
And that's the only way you can do
and
that.
It was so much fun. Like, I love those guys.
The only way.
Yeah, like Kevin and Cody were so great because they were so young at the time, and they were just there to be with me and Terry, and Justin, the engineer, was great. And it was really positive because they just wanted to serve the music, and it was so much fun. And I remember looking over and seeing Kevin like rocking out, and all that all that shit is on tape. Like that's it. Like that moment that I'm looking over at him and we're playing, that's on the record. That's not a bed track, and I don't know if people know that, but like the solos, that's me playing. There's no overtime, didn't punch, there's nothing. That's me playing in the studio. And
you can't replicate that. You can't try and have that in another way. It just doesn't work.
So I got Andy going, being in the same room with Dave is difficult. Yes, it is. And Daryl goes, so again, recording live together is like nothing else. Yeah, so that's true, Daryl. But it is true. It is true. But we also chose to make two records, Broadcaster and the Faces one. Broadcaster is interesting because I wanted it to be a steel guitar record with a throwback to also Chet Atkins and earlier guitarists like Alvino Ray and Roy Smeck, and these guys that came around in the 40s and 50s that played instrumental music, but did it exactly the way that, and then Scott orchestrated it like Chet Atkins in Hollywood. And I just blew my mind because I'm doing this stuff, and then all of a sudden we've got this RCA recording with the orchestra and
exactly. These two records are not a band.
Right.
They're a guitar player with an orchestra, and it's more done in that old style, that parts are written and arranged and recorded and then mixed. It's not jammed out at all. There's none of that.
So I got something. I'm just reading the comments here, and I got something to add as well. So because the guys are talking about recording live, and what I mean, it's so crazy. I record digitally, but what I do really is I look at the digital machine as it's a tape recorder. So most of the tracks, like on Broadcaster,
so do I.
I know you do, but you're orchestrating. So sometimes you're manually actually playing the stuff in. But with the guitar tracks,
actually, I manually play everything in.
Yeah, I know.
Because it feels different. It still needs to be played.
Oh, I know it. You can tell.
I don't think, like, I'll write it out, or I'll sketch it out, or I'll play it and then write it, and then I'll play it in, because otherwise it sounds it's too mechanized.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I'm always following your lead, right? Like I'm always your pushes and your pulls. I'm still playing with you, like, so when I'm doing the string parts or a brass part or a woodwind part or string part, whatever it is, every part is played in.
Oh yeah.
Because otherwise it doesn't sound real. Because
it starts to get weird,
real players are really playing.
Well, it starts to get weird, and then it snowballs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So if I'm doing a violin part, let's say, right, um, and I don't play it right, I don't tweak it, I redo it. So I treat it like a tape machine. So because every time I redo the take, I'm learning the take a little bit better. I'm understanding what I'm trying to do a little bit better, and I'm performing it a little bit better. And then that goes for every instrument of of the orchestra that I'm playing. So what I'm doing is I'm playing a clarinet idiomatically if I were a clarinet player. I'm not a clarinet player, but I'm playing it as expressively as if I was. So I'm thinking like the composer. If I'm while I'm playing it, I'm trying to perform it as expressively as I can because that's where the payoff is. You know, like so Terry was saying yesterday, well, Roger Moore and Terry thought that the instruments sounded like he couldn't tell that it wasn't an orchestra.
Oh, the from
And I
Peter
think a
Moore. Yeah,
lot of yeah, and
that's
I think a
amazing.
lot of that. I think it's very cool. I think that's a fantastic compliment, and I'm really chuffed to hear that
Hmm.
because I think that what that is that while they're digital samples, they are expressive, but you have to play. You still have to play it. You know,
And
it's
yeah,
there's still performances, and there are imperfections. There are timing imperfections in there, and there are dynamic imperfections in there that I've done. But I thought it felt right, and so it's a little bit. I hate to use the word, but it's a little bit more organic, you know. And so I'll kind of leave in the imperfections if the whole feels good,
are you?
you know.
Andy says, are you using a keyboard to trigger the instruments? Because the guys might
Yeah,
know that I did do some software instruments like the tubular bells and the Fender Rhodes in a couple places. Scott did 98% of it. Like, but I did some and I typed them in. But
yeah.
Scott
No,
used keyboard,
I
right?
play them in on keyboards. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
And I've got so usually most part because every instrument other than the piano in the orchestra is monophonic,
yeah.
right? So I'm playing with my right hand, and my left hand I'm using expression
Oh
faders, you know.
God.
So I'm using either expression and dynamics
I'm already.
with my right hand
I'm already.
on the keyboard and my left hand.
I'm already tuning
So
out. You're talking about it. I don't want to hear it. Just shut up. I don't, it's,
sorry.
no, and it's
Yeah.
not that. It's just like it just freaks me out. It's like, oh God, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. I don't want to even know. I didn't want to know about that because I was gonna.
But Dave, I'm serious, dude. That's the fun part.
Mm.
That's the playing part.
Well,
You know?
what I like doing is as you were explaining your process of orchestration is that what I like to do is like if you guys ever get a chance to hear Chet Atkins in Hollywood, the working title for Face in the Stones was Hollywood, and or I should say I'm sorry, the working title for the
Broadcast.
broadcaster
Yeah.
was Hollywood, and
Yeah.
because I've been listening to this Chet Atkins record and thinking, God, I really want to do something where I'm playing guitar and I track a guitar part where like I'm envisioning myself in the studio with a tape machine and I put the microphone in front of my amp and I plug right into it and then I just start playing and that's the track. Like that's it. And then
Well,
I
yeah.
go, oh, that sounds good. And then it's got no reverb on it, nothing. And then I give it to Terry and Scott, and then they put this frickin' orchestrated tune and mix it, and it's like it's one of my favorite things ever, you know. And it's
Yeah.
just so. Now the thing is, I had a couple of hangups. One is that can I even play that style?
Well, you can, you know.
yeah, well, I do it my way, and then I listen
Yeah.
back, going, "Oh, I like that," But my hang up was
Yeah.
is like, remember, I kept on saying I'm going to give you a recording of it, and a couple of months went by because I was so unsure that I could track it in a way that I could stand to listen to it. Because what happens is sometimes with that kind of solo guitar thing, it's like playing Malaguena. It's like you might think you can play it, but then every time you record it and listen back, you go, well, it doesn't sound right. And you go, well, why doesn't it sound right? I don't know. The tone isn't right, or the timing isn't right, or it just doesn't flow or something. and it's nicer that it's nice that we kind of got to a point where we had these. Hey, Adam. How's it going, Adam? Just saying hi to Adam. He looks like he's talking about fire trucks and, you try to just basically get what's in your head and get it something workable, so that when you hear it back, I guess what I'm saying is you're narrowing the gap of what's in your imagination to what actually comes out on tape. Because sometimes, when I was trying to do some of these styles when I first got the digital recorder, there was a little gap there between the reel to reel and the analog tape. So maybe a handful of years where I didn't have a recorder at home, but I was in studios all the time at that time anyway, so it didn't matter. But the home recording thing with the classical guitar or the clean electric and the hollow body thing, that was a really tough one. But I'm not really. I'm kind of, I don't know. I kind of embraced the imperfections, so I'm kind of okay with it. But mostly, what I'm happy most is that these last two records with you and Terry, I think are the most original and the most honest. And
I agree, and also the least amount of what's the word, like peripheral.
Wow,
stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like it's not a whole. It's a whole lot of instrumentation. It's a whole lot of music, but it's not a whole lot of production tricks and things. Like it's not that. It's like it's all in the performance. It's all in the writing. It's all in the arrangements, and it's all in the mix.
Well,
but it's not. There's not a lot of trickery. There's not a lot of things that guys spend endless hours on tweaking. The high frequencies of a reverb on a snare drum. Like there's none of that. There's a lot of work done in the mix. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And everything is absolutely integral and perfect, but it's not like we spent 2 years making one record.
Oh yeah, no, I know, and that's
which is good.
That's something.
Good.
Yeah,
it's a very direct. I think they're direct records. Like the music is direct. It's there. At least I would hope that. I think they are. I think the melodies and the arrangements and the sounds they're prevalent, and they're what they are, and they're not. It's non-ambiguous, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, we worked on that, and I think that it's when I demoed all those tracks for the first David Barrett Trio record, I just was some of the more successful demos were the ones that had just a big idea and less overdubs, and I started to kind of.
I agree.
And that was a lot of Al's input, and I really learned from that experience. So I learned a lot from Al about taking an idea and distilling it.
He knows all about it, right?
Well, he knows all about it. Yeah, he knows all about it.
Yeah.
And I really learned so much from that experience that I tried to keep that in mind on all the later projects, and I still do, and it's really been for the better. It's taken us a little bit out of the washy, new agey background thing to making hopefully things that are a little more fun and interesting to listen to. And as soon as I touch my phone,
I think it's better, Dave. It's better. We know that the ambient, wishy-washy pad sound thing is like it's got its place, but it can't be the be-all, end-all. It's just dreadfully dull.
I turned my phone on, so I was going to blast 10 seconds of the track we're doing now.
Oh yeah. I like it. It's groovy. It's got a real like a Mission Impossible kind of groove. Yeah.
I'm getting the phone is acting up. As soon as I touch the phone, it's started acting up. But that's okay.
Well, it's also got a bit of Doctor Who in it, which I love.
Oh yeah, with the Pigtronics guitar synth. So there's and the I did it's the 5/4 thing I got from Mission Impossible. It's even in the same key. But yeah, so that's okay. And then the other one is is got some Yes and Matheny overtones. I'm really excited about that. I haven't heard drums on that yet from Paul. And we're going to do at least, I think we're going to do one or two more. Yeah, Daryl, a little bit of Peter Gunn. Yeah. A little bit of Peter Gunn ideas. And I think I was even saying to Scott that I was thinking about doing a remake of Peter Gunn, but I don't think that, I think we're just going to do original ones with this. And, right? Because we kind of talked about that, but it would be great fun.
I think so.
But I think
Peter Gunn is good fun, but Trevor Horn and Art of Noise.
Oh, that's true.
It Art of Noise?
Yeah. Oh, that Art of Noise did it, and ELP did it, and Jeff Beck did it, and everybody does it. But I wish I knew why my phone was. Hopefully you guys can't hear that, but that's okay. I think it acts like an antenna or something. I'm in a vortex electrical field of stuff. But
you're in the vortex.
I'm in the Art of Noise, right, Andy? Art of Noise.
Yeah.
What else can we address? So I think what the future holds then is that we're going to probably spend the next few months finishing some type of EP that'll have about four songs at least with Paul DeLong, and it'll be bass guitar drums really. And
nice and good and simple.
And so exciting to hear how it's going already. So Paul DeLong is amazing.
Paul DeLong, holy smokes!
Yeah, man. So he's really having fun with it, and
wow! Like just listening to that today or yesterday, trying to put bass tracks on. It's like I kind of stopped playing just to listen to the drums. I was like, holy smokes. Yeah. This guy is fantastic.
Yeah. So, Andy, colored vinyl. Yeah, sure. I mean, we can do, you know what? We'll take the rest of, I don't know how, it may not take that long to do, but I think we'll do 4 tunes, and we're already started on 2. And, Terry's putting a new studio together, so we'll be mixed at Terry's studio. And we'll probably finish it. I think.
Is his new place up north?
Yeah, it's up north. Yeah, but he's doing a great little room that's properly soundproofed and everything. And then we'll head.
Is he going to have a tracking room or?
Yeah, he's going to have a small. Yeah, he's going to have a small tracking room too. No, he's going to have a small tracking room. So we'll do that, and we'll probably. Be into the fall with that, so there's no rush. But I would think for the guys that if we feel ambitious and we want to do vinyl, we'll do it in the new year. But I'm sure we'll put it out digitally before that.
But if you and I are true to form, we always start off with small projects and then they just run away.
Oh, I know. That's always
just happens,
the case.
right? It just always happens.
Always the case, yeah. So
starts off, well, let's just try a couple tunes, and then before you know, we're putting an album out.
Yeah. So no, I know it's always the way it is, but that's okay.
That's good.
We get excited and we work quickly, and we have that in common. And so does Terry. Isn't it so strange that like we're kind of the same, because we won't really hesitate to call each other at 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and especially when we're working on each other, and it's so great because it's like you want to get up and you want to get started, and that's the way Terry is as well. So it's super cool, It's crazy. We're gonna. I think we're gonna be.
We're all early risers.
Yeah, we're gonna be really excited when we hear them all put together, and we'll be here Scott's big record. Yes, Daryl, you will hear Scott's Rickenbacker. But we had a talk the other day. I said, hey, don't Ruth, you're awfully late again. What's going on with this fashion? It's not even fashionably late. It's crazy late. It's like an hour and a half in. You're being reprimanded by the host. Daryl, the Rickenbacker is on Broadcaster, and the Rickenbacker will be on these tracks. But I just told Scott that don't shy away from all your fretless stuff. We used to call it gooey fretless because it would always have like echo and chorus and wow. And that's a really prominent style of Scott's as well. And I just didn't want to push a rock thing because we're gonna have fun, and by keeping it super. Yes, Deb, you're right. I'm glad you're here, Ruth. You are the sole person up on the farm. Okay, stay safe and watch those horses and whatever is going on with the horses.
Anyways, yeah. I'll bring in Ricky. Where I think probably what we'll do too is I'll probably end up hearing a couple things with a couple different approaches, and then I'll shoot them to you guys, and you guys can be the judge of what you like and some changes, and you guys can note me what you like and what you don't.
As we do. And thank you, Helen. Helen says it's been fun listening to the backstories while shooting pics of the sky. All right, that's cool, Helen.
Nice.
And does anybody else have some questions before we shut her down with Scott here? We've had a great talk, and again, thanks to Terry for yesterday, and thanks to Hardwire Connections and YouTube for not giving me a freaking heart attack.
And we'll get the Zoom OBS live.
Yes, we will
together.
We will, but we don't have to do it anytime soon. I mean, we'll do this kind of guest thing again, whenever we feel like it. But I was just telling the guys that it's just one more little thing that we haven't really set ourselves up for. And when we got the bugs out of the broadcasting, and that involves from my end and with Scott's help, not only Scott's help with how to do it, but also some settings like compressors and things like that are inside the software. So I would have been a little bit lost without that input as well. So basically, to give you guys just a Reader's Digest version, I have microphones, mixers, and then a laptop, then OBS software that talks to my computer and my interface that talks to YouTube so that we can broadcast seamlessly. And we did, you guys remember the painful process of me getting my act together. That was, like when things go wrong, it just can be very frustrating. But it's okay now. Look how good this broadcast has been with my phone only doing weird things occasionally. But
yeah, that's good.
So yeah. So I don't know about the censorship. At least we don't have to worry about that, Ruth, because we're all pretty civilized here. I don't know. But well, so we will do some split screen stuff eventually, but mostly it's music. And at least the talking thing is that we probably should have done that with Terry. But I had it in my head that I would do it on Facebook, and then it's okay. I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm like,
it's okay. You got a great group of people here who are very forgiving with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's like I've been to Vietnam and I'm shell shocked from our technical struggles, but no, it's going. Like I said, we've got the music thing. Yes, Deb, I'm going to play a few things. What would you like to play? Yes, Megan. That it's not that much, but it's just the difference to use proper mics, compressors, blah, 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 that just make things enjoyable so that once it's set, you can kind of set and forget, Because if I had to, make adjustments and sound check more deeply before each broadcast, it would really be hard for me to relax and play because I'd be so overwhelmed with dealing with that, So ask Scott for a request. What? So you ask Scott, what would Scott like me to hear me play? Well, that's interesting. I don't know.
Oh.
Too bad, Scott. See, we haven't figured that out where Scott and I can play together online because that'd be a whole other thing.
Yeah, we got to do that. Actually, we should do that.
There is technology that kind of adjusts for the time delay, but I that's another thing that is just a little bit complex.
Yeah, there's stuff out there. I've not used it, but we should probably.
I know, but then it's like, right? I know.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, Dave, go do that. It's like, okay, man, I don't know, it's not working.
Yeah.
But
anywho, Okay,
Okay.
so you're gonna play a song, or you're gonna
I'm gonna,
play a
I'm
guitar?
gonna, I'm gonna, I'm gonna play guitar. I'm gonna hang up on you. I'm gonna play a few medley bits. A few, maybe I'll play some Gato. And
Gato, dude, yeah, love Gato.
when in doubt,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start quoting. I'm gonna start quoting. I'm gonna start quoting.
What's that song? What's that riff? Walk on. So
Oh
walk
yeah, for
on.
sure, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When Doug Inglis died last year, I did "Under My Hat," which is a great song. I can't remember how that
Oh,
goes.
did you? Great
Yeah, I
track.
did. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great song. But yes, Rainer, we can do all kinds of things. Um, I don't know about my face on the disc. I think I might freak some people out. They might think I've lost it, and yeah, Annika. That's right, Andy. I know we got at least one Gato fan out there, and it's Andy. He keeps on requesting Annika Panicek. How do you even say that? Annika Panicek, blah blah. That instrumental thing.
Do you remember when we first saw them? When Doug invited us to go see them at Wexford Auditorium.
I didn't go. I was too young.
You didn't go?
No, I didn't go.
Doug and I went. Yeah, they were great, man.
Yeah,
they were great.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. I remember the big thing was that the Q107 broadcast from the church, and that was great, man. That was great.
Yeah.
But
I think I was 17. 16 or 17.
Oh yeah, sure, for sure. What I was going to say was, what's so funny about that era is that we just quickly got into progressive music that our interest in even Aerosmith and bands like that kind of dropped it. It's like, I don't know, man. I know it all became about Rush and Yes, and then and Led Zeppelin didn't really have time for some of those bands that were more rockin'. We just kind of lost interest. I'm not really sure why, because a lot of other guys I know that are great musicians, they still kind of stayed with the straight up rock thing, but for some reason I was just so attracted to the progressive thing, and then Matheny, that I just even you kind of got into the punk era, and I didn't even do that. I got into Mike Oldfield, and I completely eclipsed the whole Clash thing and all that stuff. I just didn't.
I love punk rock, man.
I know,
love punk rock.
But you were, I don't know, you had something else going on,
I don't know. I love punk. I loved it all, man. I love punk rock at the same time. I listened to the Stranglers, and then I put on Close to the Edge. It didn't matter to me.
Megan says because Prague is better. Duh. Yeah. Well, Megan, you just summed it up.
Yeah, it is.
Because I'm sorry, Close to the Edge is better. I know, but
it is better. Yeah.
But Lennon Calling's great. I mean, that's a great.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I know.
Absolutely.
Okay, Scott, thank you so much.
Okay, man.
We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
That's been very entertaining, and thanks for doing this. And thank you to Terry for yesterday. And hope you guys enjoyed this talking segment of the program. I'm gonna rock out with a little bit of "So Walk On."
Right on. Okay, thanks, Dave.
All right, Scott. See ya. See ya.
Thanks.
See ya.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Scott. Great fun. I love how... Oh, I'm still plugged in. I love how we... just kind of parlayed our recording projects and ideas and everything into a workable version of David Barrett Trio, and it came at a good time, and I think that it has made for some very original music with Scott's sensibility and creativity. His offset some of my predictability, or does that even make sense? I don't know. probably the first guy in the neighborhood to buy a Van Halen record. was for Daryl and Steve the Thorpe, who will be watching tomorrow. I know that Steve is out rehearsing right now. Hey, Caroline. And, you know, one thing that Scott and I didn't talk about was our love of jamming the blues, because you guys may not believe this sounds so silly, but when we first learned to play, the thing to do was to jam blues. I was 13. I had my little Fender Champ. Also, Doug Hall's brother, Pete, had a Marshall Plexi. Marshall 50-watt amp, amazing. Scott's brother, Rick, and Craig, they had a 100-watt trainer. So, before I had... So I'm going to do a little montage of blues, Andy. My Way, which is whatever that is. And we used to do these things, and it would sound like this. We'd do this. We'd go, So I'm going to close things out. Well, wow, I did all without any reverb. Well, thanks again to Scott. Thanks to Terry for last night. Thanks to you guys for listening. And let's see if I can work my guitar stand here. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I had a great time. And thank you, Deb. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, 89 Shelby. And Ruth. And Daryl. Your birth is it your birthday, Andy? Did I miss that? Really? Am I so self-absorbed I didn't know that it's your birthday? Thank you, Helen. Great to see you tuning in, Ruby. Have a great time at the concert tomorrow, I'm guessing. And a great good luck sorting all your stuff out that you have to do in Toronto. And I hope things are okay down in Ohio for you. It's been quite a year, hasn't it? That's awesome, Ruby. Thank you. And we'll see you Sunday. I have something fun planned. I forget what it is. But I'll put the poster up shortly. Oh, I'm playing all solo. No loops, just going to rip on solo acoustic guitar. That'd be fun. Yeah, like the old days. Okay. See you, Megan. Thank you, Rainer. Thank you, Germany. Have a great morning. Happy birthday, Andy. Happy 40th, young man. We'll see you guys Sunday at noon. Have a great weekend.